chase betterment, chase personal development, professional development, and you will ultimately win. There's no losing with that. It's not degrees, it is an unwavering, relentless pursuit. Those who refuse to give up. That's it. Welcome to Thrive Well with Jess Woodbeck. Hi, Michelle. Thank you so much for joining us here on Thrive Well podcast. I know you are sitting in a rainy, cloudy day, just like I am in Michigan, but you're in Springfield, Missouri, right?
Right. Yes. It's very cloudy today, a little dark. So apologize for that.
No, we get it. I'm lucky. I'm facing a window, so I at least get that. But we have the exact same backdrop. So you're a great friend. I love you dearly. So I'm so excited that we're here today. And I want to talk about, number one, you didn't just show up and become a fierce independent broker. You've been in business. You're in your 30th year. Holy cow. Let's give a round of applause for that. And you went from being a top producing agent, 40 under 40 you captured in your production, to a team leader of a big box brokerage, and now an independent broker.
I've kind of done it all.
You have. And I love that about your career because you really can speak authentically to how do you live a sustainable life in real estate? Because it's one thing right now I would say personally I'm missing from all of the social media craze is really hearing from people like yourself that are like, hey, yeah, this marketplace feels fast, it feels hard, and guess what? We've all been here before. This isn't our first rodeo. These are the things you should be doing. So we're going to go through all of that with our viewers today. And what I'd like to start with are really with us being in this extreme seller's market right now and you having 30 years of experience. What is your opinion, economic opinion, on this marketplace and where it's going to go?
You know, I think this market is so different than anything we've ever seen. We've never had a pandemic in our lifetime. You know, my lifetime, I'm older than you, but never had a pandemic. And so that sets us up, I think, for even the economists to say what's going to happen. Yep. And we've seen such changes in the job force. In my opinion, it's because we have all of these Uber Eats and Amazon delivery jobs. And so people aren't really not working. They're just working in jobs where they can set their own hours, kind of like real estate used to be, where they can take a call if they want and go deliver something and make a good income. So we're just seeing such changes in the world right now. But what I've always seen in real estate is that people always need homes. Mm-hmm. They always need somewhere to live. So no matter what happens, I lived through the recession. I was a real estate agent through the recession back in 2007. And even though, you know, then we had an overabundance in inventory because all of these builders were building so many homes. And, you know, that happened, as we all know, because of the mortgage industry. And it really wasn't driven by real estate as much as the mortgage industry and people not being able to afford the homes that they were in. But now, you know, with such a shortage of homes because we didn't build for all of those years, it's just kind of unprecedented. And I just feel that with rents going up, the market's going to stay strong for a long time because a lot of people can't afford rent now. And it makes more sense. Their payments are less. Inflation's definitely going to affect everything. We're all noticing that the grocery store and gas prices. But you can still, my first house I bought, Jessica, at 19 years old was 19% interest. And that was first time home buyers money. It was 22 at the time and 22% interest. And I got it for 19 and thought I got a great deal. And so when you have a 19-year-old that thinks 19% interest is a good deal, I mean, people need homes. I mean, it was still cheaper than me renting a property at that time. And so it, you know, it's just cyclical. What goes up comes down. It's going to happen, but we're here for the long haul, right?
Yes, exactly. The name of the game is pivoting and being really smart. So with all of that said, what would you say right now that you see in this marketplace? Because I know you train, you coach a lot of agents. Is the number one mistake a 5-year, 3-year, 1-year agent is making right now?
You know, I believe in the team structure. I have a great peer group of a lot of really big teams. And I think a new agent starting out on their own, like if they're a new agent getting into it, they may get frustrated. This market is so tough for new agents. I mean, they're writing, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 offers to get one house accepted. And the frustration that comes with that is very difficult. And if you're not on a team with support and someone teaching you how to win those offers, and just having the inventory within the team that you can move around, before it hits the market. I mean, sometimes people don't want to go into those kind of bidding war situations and be out of their house for a few days. I really believe in the structure of a team. I believe in the lead generation of a team and what that looks like, and just the support. And I think if you're not, I think you probably won't last in this market very long if you're brand new.
Yeah, I love that sentiment, because I think in any career, isn't it interesting that people come to real estate thinking you have to wear this armor of one-man band? And I don't know where that comes from, other than that is how it used to be. So the fact that they enter in this marketplace, and it's almost this weak mindset to think, if I go join forces with others, I somehow have already lost. And luckily, I don't know about you, I am seeing that shift, especially after the pandemic. I'm seeing more people just desperate for community, desperate for support. And so they are migrating more towards that team atmosphere and that leveraged brokerage feeling, which is excellent, because I think long run career wise, that's what it's going to take for people.
And it can be a brokerage, a smaller brokerage, or a brokerage that has that leverage, that has that help for them. It doesn't necessarily have to be a team, but it can be that team feel at a brokerage where you're getting that support that you need, because it's very important.
Absolutely, 100%. And isn't it true that isn't that the truth with anything in life, right? I mean, if you think about real estate is no different than anything. Think about your schooling situation. My son's about to go off to college, and my thought process with him right now is, hey, with where we've been in the last 2 years and how that's affected you, would it be smarter to join a full service, full on supportive community as a college versus going to a huge mainstream college right now and being on your own? And we've used that to kind of guide his decision making. So I think it's everywhere. And if you're at least available to be abundant in thinking, you're going to go much further than that person that comes in guarded and afraid to just latch onto that support. Okay, so when it comes to these agents that are joining real estate, they're joining your team. You've coached them over the years, whether they're inside your brokerage or not. Would you say it is smart for any agent, whether you're 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, to find a niche, to really go deep into one category? I'm only going to help luxury folks. I'm only going to help first-time buyers. What's your thought on that?
Our agents and our team do it all. And I do think to have one area that you concentrate on. I've always been known as a new construction agent. I was the agent that worked with builders, had lots of new construction. I loved new construction. So I always had that niche, and it has always worked really well for me. I would say our team now is known for luxury. We really increased the price point, and we work with a lot of those luxury buyers because of our marketing that we do. So I do think it's really good to focus in that one area. And it's not hard to do. I mean, it can be whatever you want to do. If you live in, like we live in Springfield, and we have a lot of surrounding communities. And if you live in one of those, become the expert for that community. And you can do that by telling people you are and giving them information about that community. Like I said, if it's new construction or luxury or condos or lake properties, whatever it is that you have true interest in, be that expert, learn everything about it, talk to other people. That I find most real estate agents are open and want to help if you ask them. And if you, go brand yourself the expert in that area. And we know it through social media, you sure can do that. And so I think it really does help.
I like that. I think it's important to hear that using your environment is key to that niche, right? If you live in an area where you're surrounded with high turnover properties, to then deem yourself a luxury agent and make it more difficult for you to grab footing on that is probably not the best idea. So back to the fact that you kind of started your career as this new construction agent, you now are a luxury brokerage. How do you get started in a niche of new construction? What would you advise someone to do today?
Well, I started because I worked for a land development company. So I had some knowledge with that, and then decided to get my real estate license. And that was a natural progression for me. But I always I would think, find a builder that you love his product, that you walk through the house and you can say, I'm really proud to sell this, that, I want to live here. I want my family to live here, and do a marketing presentation. I never just put a sign in the yard and sold new construction. I was able to have meetings with clients and show them floor plans and help them dream and pick out paint colors and help them design. That was a strength that I had. And if you have that strength also, if you love remodeling homes and you do that, you probably have that strength as well. If you're known as your friends as the one who they call to come decorate their fireplace mantle, or whatever, then you probably have that strength. And, it really makes a difference because you're selling something that's not there. And when you can do that and you can help people dream and you sell, it's pre-sales is basically what I was really good at. And I was good at helping them through that. Right now, I'm trying to just run my brokerage and not going on appointments anymore. So when I say I did that, I have other agents that do that now, executive assistants that help, but I run my brokerage now. And so I rarely go on appointments anymore.
Great advice on that. So in areas where pre-sales are not an option, really getting to know the builder and going deep on their work so that you're really proud of what you're selling, and can create some great marketing around it, because I know that is probably a builder's shortest stick that they have, is that the marketing piece for them, especially if they're a smaller builder, is just not there. They don't have the time for it. They don't know how to do it. So that's where you can bring in that.
Pre-sales are hard right now because they don't know what their costs are going to come in at. So they're waiting a lot of times until the property is completed to sell it because of pricing. So it's a different world when it comes to new construction. I would have 50, 60 pre-sales going at all times. I mean, like a lot.
Wow.
Yeah. And that's not amazing really anymore.
Right. It's totally different. Okay. So then when you look back at your career, let's go into lesson time. You're now a team leader of your own independent brokerage, and you help coach other agents within your brokerage across the country. When you look back at your 30 years in this industry, what would you say is a major mistake that you made that, had you known what the outcome was, you wouldn't have done that, where we can kind of help some of these viewers leapfrog over, these obstacles that we ran into and got stuck at?
I would say a personality like mine, if you talk on the disc, I'm a high ID, and a personality like mine, we like a lot of different areas and we get distracted. So when opportunity comes to us, we're like, oh, I could do that. That would be awesome. That would be fun. But it's really distracting. And sometimes when you get with these big box brokerages, they want you to be everything for everyone. They want you, to teach a lot of classes and do this and then move into this role and that. And it really is distracting. And I would say I would be more focused on real estate. I've always done well at real estate. It's just been a natural fit for me. I love people. I love helping them. I started growing a team. I was probably one of the first people in our town to have a team, just out of the need for new construction. But I always found myself, those shiny things. It's like, being distracted, squirrel, being distracted and wanting to do it all. And it's concentrated effort for me to stay focused on my brokerage. And it's not really as much now, but I'd say in the 3-4 years prior, it took concentrated effort for me to be able to turn down opportunities that I was like, oh my gosh, I know I could help them. I know I could help them recruit. I know I could help them launch that office or market center. I know, it would be fun too, because I really do enjoy that. But, I decided to really work on my people, on my brokerage. And I just launched my independent brokerage last year. We were a large team. We kept growing. We had about 50 people, and it just made sense at that point. It never was really a goal to open a brokerage. It was, to be a team at a brokerage where I didn't have to I've been managing broker at 2 different brokerages before, but I always had a team. So that was never really a goal, but this just naturally happened, and it was the next step. And we have a different setup than most people. We are a big team that has our own brokerage. We don't have an independent agent model. As of now, we don't have one, and it works really well for us. But I just think staying focused, those consistent activities, They're not sexy. They're the same activities all the time. That is what will make you successful in this business. You do the same thing. You add another layer to it when you can. You don't get in over your head with debt. And then you just add the next thing that you know that you can pay for ahead of time. And, I never saw the recession coming. I don't have an economy degree. I didn't really know that could happen. And I was, starting to build myself. And it was a very difficult time for me. And I just needed to step back. I'm an energy person. And when I was helping all these people get excited and design their homes and build their homes, now I was showing up to the closing table and they were writing checks or they were losing their homes. And that energy was so difficult for me. And so I went into leadership and started teaching and training other agents. And I took a step back from sales for a few years and then got back into it and built my team back. And I literally love our career. I think it's the greatest in the world. But just staying consistent and doing consistent activities and staying focused. I think that is the main thing.
I like one thing you said was master the boredom, right? And I think that is something that as leaders, we preach constantly to our agents, even to our staff, because anybody who's attracted to real estate loves that it's fast paced. There is always something new. Every transaction's different. And so when you start getting into the compounding consistency piece, right, you do start to get bored. And so then all of a sudden, all these opportunities or thoughts or new softwares or whatever it may be, what so-and-so is doing over in Ohio becomes glamorous again. And so I love that message of, just master the boredom, stay the course. When you're ready to layer on, layer on. That is a very strong message.
Yeah, I'm going through that still with events because I get invited to speak at events or go to events. And I have to really talk to myself. We talked about one recently, which would have been a great opportunity and a book that I was, so interested in. But I had to really say, my word this year is authentic. And authentically, what is my goal for this year? What have I made a commitment to for myself and for the people surrounding me? And does that feed into that authenticity? And if it doesn't, then I'm turning it down. And that comes with maturity, learning to do that and learning not to try to be everything and really know it's about goal planning and knowing who you are and what you want and what gets you there and staying authentic to that.
Yeah, and understanding, right, that's relative. I was just on a webinar yesterday for women, and it was centric to women in real estate. And we talked endlessly about how success is relative to the individual. And the piece that I think you and I have had lots of conversation around is the FOMO that you feel, because to be in this industry, you must be competitive in some way, right? It can be friendly competitive. It can be just desire for growth competitive within self. And so you can get distracted a lot with opportunity because your capacity says, I can do this, but does that really feed what I'm focused on, what I want to accomplish this year and next year? I was just talking, Kim Dowling. I was just talking to her. She's from Tampa. She runs a brokerage as well. And she was asking, are you going to be at this event? And my response, I had to pause and really think about, how do I respond gracefully around my no? Because I would never want my no to make someone else feel like they should have a no, right? So I had to really pause and think, no, I'm not. And this is exactly why, right? I need to still execute on things I learned over the last 2 years because most of us during the pandemic did have more time. So we did go to more conferences, more masterminds. We signed up for things we wouldn't normally have time for. And I tell you what, I got a list as long as I am tall on what I should be executing on. So it was a hard no.
You think, should I be there? Is there something that I'm going to miss out on knowing and learning and that will help my brokerage? And so we would stay very relevant in the know of everything that's going on new changes. And that's important. It's important for our people. And it gives us that step up sometimes, but we have to make sure that, like you said, we're implementing what we already started, because if you're always starting and not finishing, that's not a good thing either. And so this year's been a lot of me pulling back, and we're a new brokerage. We started in November of last year. And this year is me stepping back from a lot of those opportunities that I used to love and concentrating on where I'm at and making sure that I just wanted to build a brokerage that was where I would want to be. What would I want if I was starting over? And I constantly ask myself that question: what opportunities do I want for my people? And I just, that's what I focus on.
Yeah, I love that. And I think there's so much strength in those boundaries. So speaking of boundaries, that was one of my favorite questions to ask, especially women in real estate. Over the years, where have you decided that I just have absolute non-negotiable? This is it. This is my non-negotiable year over year over year. I've learned my lesson, so I'm not going to allow it. I have a boundary there.
Well, I've learned through the years to listen to my gut. And my non-negotiable now, I would say, well, it's always kind of been that way. I like I said, I love real estate. I think it's the greatest career. I want to do what I do. I really identify with being a real estate agent. That is who I am. I've been doing it 30 years. So, longer than, over half my life, over half of it. And so, this is who I identify with. And I want to go to work. And since I own the company, I want to work with people that are like-minded or that are kind. And kindness is a huge deal to me. I don't want to constantly be micromanaging or managing conflict. And so I just don't stay in business with people like that. And it's a non-negotiable for me. If someone is, toxic, I just don't stay in business with them. And that might sound a little harsh, and I don't mean for it to. It's just that I want to be there, and I don't want to be distracted. I don't want my people to be distracted by those, everyone has those people once in a while that's where they thrive. That's their space. And I just don't let that in my world. And I remove it if it happens. And it's one of the hardest things you do in leadership, but yet it is I think, what they say, slow to hire and quick to fire. And,
yes.
But it's one of the most important things I feel like we do, because that culture that, John Chaplak, our coach, always says, hire to your subculture. And it's true. You need to know who you are, and your gut usually will tell you in the beginning, and sometimes we don't listen to it. And I really learned to be more authentic as far as listening to my instincts and getting a business with the right people. And I think it's hard for a lot of brokerages to understand that, because most brokerages will take anyone, and we don't.
Yeah, I love that. And we have that in common. And it's one of the things that I find so inspiring about your business, is that you are steadfast on that, right? If we don't align, hey, that's okay. No problem. There's lots of places for you to go. It's just not here. And we run very similarly.
I had a conversation this morning with an agent that, she worked at another brokerage and for a year and sold one transaction. She joined our team and, made over $100,000 her first year. Amazing girl. And she decided she wanted to leave and join her, start her own team. Now, I would be a hypocrite if I said I'm the only one who gets to have a team. And we just had a great conversation this morning, and I'm okay with that. Most brokerages aren't like that. They get mad and they feel like, they've been, there for these people, and they leave. And I hope they all want to stay. But once in a while, like, how am I going to squelch an entrepreneurial spirit, that wants to do that? I always want to provide value, so they want to stay. But someone who wants to do that, I'm still going to be their friend, and I'm still going to be their supporter.
Absolutely.
And I think that's an abundant mindset, right? And that does take emotional maturity to hit the point where I sat in a conference back in the day with Gene Rivers. I don't know if you remember him, but Southern agent, ran big business. And I will never forget, someone asked him in the crowd, what do you do when agents want to leave you because they think they can do what you're doing on their own? They're going to take everything they learn from you, all the training, all the coaching, all the marketing, and they're going to go implement. And he said, good luck, number one. It's taken years to get where we are. And then number two, he's like, what a phenomenal story. Oh my gosh, if I can take you from zero to hero and I'm a part of that launch pad, that bodes well to my life, to my career, to my resume, to all the things I'm about. So be it. And I thought, wow. And at that time I was so new, and, we had probably just had an agent leave, and my heart was broken. And it was just so refreshing to hear. And since then, my perspective forever changed, right? It wasn't about us versus them. It was, okay, if we were a stepping stone, that's all right too.
We're
I
good
mean,
with that.
sometimes it hurts, but I always smile because I think if I made it look so easy that someone else can leave and
Yes.
if they could do it, then I probably did a pretty good job. We probably did pretty good because it is difficult. It is difficult to get to this point, to be in leadership, to build it, to stay relevant, to keep every new lead source in front of them, to hire staff members before you need them. There's a lot to it that people don't see. And if we make it look easy enough that they think they can go do it, then I kind of smile. And I always leave the door open for them. The ones that we have a great relationship, I always leave that door open. Hey, if it doesn't work out, you can always come back.
Exactly. Us too. If you find out that grass isn't greener, come on back. I have this wild idea. I love your input on this. I have this thought process where I would take my mega agents that have absolute interest in expanding their business. And they have curiosity about it. And so they're asking questions. We have a very open door policy. So I don't like to find out after the fact, right? Like, let's just talk about it. This is business. What if we allowed those folks to step in our shoes for a week or even 24 hours? Because I think that's all it would take, to be quite frank, and say, hey, you're CEO for a day. You've got people that report to you. Yeah, you've got my calendar, you've got my agenda, because this is the reality. This is what it looks like. It's not sexy. It is just as much work. It's just different work. And I haven't done it yet. I haven't pulled the trigger, but I have played with it where I'm like, hey, anyone want to be CEO for the day? Anybody want my job? Everyone's like, no, I don't.
If they just saw the amount of money we spend a day or month, and to provide all the opportunities we do, that could scare them off.
Agreed. You just calculate those salaries alone, much less softwares and everything else on our P&L. I agree. Well, thank you so much, Michelle. It is always a pleasure talking and connecting with you. And I'm excited to share this with the world because you're a wealth of knowledge. So how can people find you? How can they start following you and learning from you?
So the Michelle Cantrell group, Cantrell Real Estate, we're on all social media. My email is michelle@cantrellre.com if anyone wants to reach out or has any questions. But I love talking to you. You're one of my favorite people. So
yes. And I just want everyone to know you are a real estate performance coach. So that is something that's available to folks. You have an interview process that goes with it. And in addition to that, you live a really big personal life. And that is always one of my most fond pieces about our conversations is you make a lot of time for your family, your grandkids. And I cherish that about your journey because it's something that is always in the forefront of my mind is carving out even more time and more vacations. And you're always on vacation, I feel, with your family.
Yeah.
And the thing I would say I'm most proud of is I have 3 sons, and the oldest and the youngest are both real estate agents. They're not on my team. We decided we have been on a team together before, but they both have their own companies. In fact, my youngest is a big developer builder, and I'm very proud that that I didn't neglect them growing up in real estate, that they wanted to start that career. Because I've interviewed people that said, how do you have 2 kids in real estate? Because my kids hate real estate because I was never there for them. I always put my kids' activities first on my calendar. The reason I started real estate was so I could be available for them. And so I never lost sight of that. And I'm very proud of that. And I'm still that way. I've earned the right to not work weekends now. And so those are for my grandkids. And, it's a good life. I'm very fortunate.
Blessed life. I love that. So follow Michelle, learn from her. Boundaries are essential. And we will talk soon, friend. Thank you so much.